welcome back to another episode of In Between the Lines. Today's video, I'll be going over the lottery selections and we'll be giving you my thoughts and grades for each selection. So let's get right into it. So for the number one overall pick, we have the Atlanta Hawks who selected Zachary Risacher. I think this is a good pick, being that, obviously they weren't going to pick Alex Sarr with, everything being true that he didn't really want to go to that team. And it was either them picking Zachary Risacher or Donovan Clingan, and it looks like they chose to go with the player with the highest upside out of the two. So I don't mind this selection at all. I was a big fan of Zachary Risacher. As you can see, he's great in transition. He's a great shooter, probably the best 3 and D prospect coming out of the draft. And if he can develop more of a shot creation, I think he could really be a great player. And who knows, maybe he can be the best player coming out of this draft, right? So overall, I think I'd give this draft selection a B plus. Just working with what they had. And yeah, I think he does have one of the highest upsides in the draft, so I'd give it a B plus. With the number 2 overall pick, we have the Washington Wizards selecting Alex Sarr. And if you're a Washington Wizards fan here, your life is going great right now. You got probably one of the best prospects in this draft. Again, he was number 1 on my big board. I think he has the highest ceiling here. And as you can see, he's great in transition. He's great defensively. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Giannis and Victor Wembanyama. And yeah, again, you're living on cloud 9 if you're the Washington Wizards, and one of the biggest winners in this draft class here. So Alex Sarr, I would give this selection here probably an A plus. So hopefully he can develop a better shot, and hopefully this sets the Washington Wizards in the right direction. And I think this is a great foundation piece to start off with your rebuild. And yeah, I think they'll just look to add more talent in the next upcoming years. Number 3 overall pick, we have the Houston Rockets selecting Reed Sheppard. Again, I did predict this as well to happen. And as a matter of fact, I think like 6 out of 14 in the lottery picks correct. So this was one of them, and I think this is a match made in heaven for the Houston Rockets. I think he complements this team very well. Again, he can be a protege of Fred VanVleet. He could definitely help space the floor, which complements players like Amen Thompson and Alperen Sengun. And I think the Houston Rockets are a big winner here. I think they did make the right selection. I don't think they would have been able to trade down and still been able to pick him, because I think my Spurs would have chosen him at the number 4th overall pick if he was there. But yeah, I give this selection here an A plus. And yeah, I think he'll be a major contributor, and hopefully if you're a Houston Rockets fan, hopefully the Houston Rockets will definitely make a push to make the playoffs. And with everything that I'm hearing, there's a lot of trade rumors going on with this team, and they're going to be looking to make a big splash pretty soon. And I think Reed will come into the team basically ready to help them win. He's a winning player. He's great defensively. Again, great perimeter, out in the perimeter. So yeah, great selection here for the Houston Rockets. With the 4th overall pick, we have the San Antonio Spurs selecting Stephon Castle. Now, I will admit, Stephon Castle wasn't the first on my big board for the Spurs, but being the way that the draft board fell come draft night, I think they made the right selection here. He was, if it wasn't Stephon Castle, I wanted Zachary Risacher and Reed Sheppard, before him, but obviously they were taken before they got to the 4th pick. So I think they did make the right selection here. Everything that I see, you gotta love, he's a winning player. He's a hard worker. He's not afraid to put in the work, and I think he'll complement this team as far as helping us out defensively. He'll be great in the perimeter. He has great size, listed at I believe like 6'5", 6'6 and a half. So maybe 6'7" with shoes. So I think it'll definitely help our defense rise, and he'll just help Victor Wembanyama's case that much more, right? Because obviously, Victor Wembanyama in my eyes was probably like the best defender. The only reason why I feel like he didn't get it last year was the fact that our team, kind of sucked defensively outside of him. So I think having Stephon Castle will just raise our floor with both of him and Victor combined defensively. So Yeah, and if Stephon Castle can develop a 3-point shot, I think sky's the limit for Stephon Castle. He's pretty decent, playmaking wise. So I think he'll only get better in a Spurs system. So I think overall, I'd give the Spurs a B plus. Being that there's still more to come. I think with everything that they did on draft night, and only because Stephon Castle doesn't help us out immediately spacing wise. So I give it a B plus for now. With the 5th overall pick, we have Ron Holland going to the Detroit Pistons. Ron Holland, I feel like he was probably had the one of the highest ceilings in this draft, and obviously probably I predicted the Detroit Pistons going with Matas Buzelis, but it seems like the Pistons went with the player who has the highest upside, right? And honestly, like if you're gonna pick between Ron Holland and Matas Buzelis, and if your choice was Ron Holland, I mean, I don't blame you. I mean, they both shot pretty similar at the 3-point line, so Ron Holland, he's great defensively, great in transition. It kind of sucks that he's not really the best fit for the Detroit Pistons, right? Look at Asar Thompson. They're kind of similar in play style, with them just really, going downhill, getting a lot of rebounds, being great in transition, and with both of them not really being able to shoot. And when you pair that with a player like Jalen Duren, another player who can't shoot, Jaden Ivey, who doesn't have the best 3-point shot, it doesn't really help Cade and the team overall. But I guess when you're one of the worst teams in the league, you can't really be too picky as far as picking for fit. You just really got to pick for best talent available. So I get that concept, and hopefully it works out for the Detroit Pistons. Again, I'm high on Ron Holland. I just don't really like the fit. So if I had to give this a grade, I'd probably give it C plus or like B minus, just depending on how Ron or Asar develops, and hopefully one of them develops a 3-point shot to really help this team. With the 6th overall pick, we have the Charlotte Hornets selecting Tajon Salon here. I think this was the highest reach. I know Tajon Salon has one of the highest upsides in this draft, and I don't know. I mean, I can kind of see why they went to John Salon here, being that the Spurs were really, really interested in this guy. And, if he fell to 8, I really believe the Spurs would have selected to John Salon at number 8. So I get why they had to, pick him at 6. But I will admit, he is, one of the biggest risks. He's probably, I know he's one of the youngest players, and he's just very, very raw, right? So you hope that the Charlotte Hornets can develop him the right way. He has, great length. He's great at finishing. It looks like he can, be a pretty good shooter out in the 3-point line. There's a lot of upside to him, and all I can say is that I hope the Charlotte Hornets develop him right. For the Spurs, I know I'm a little biased here, but I think it would have been okay for the Spurs picking him, only because, being that we had 2 picks in the top 10, I think it was just playing with house money, so they can afford to, play and take a risk at the number 8th pick. And obviously I think our development staff is far more better than the Charlotte Hornets, but who knows? Again, this could be the steal of the draft, and it also could be one of the biggest busts of the draft. So I'd give this selection here a B minus, only because again he has one of the highest upsides, but was a bit of a reach and a big risk for the Charlotte Hornets. So hopefully it works out for the Charlotte Hornets fans. With the 7th overall pick, we have the Portland Trail Blazers selecting Donovan Clingan. I think this was a pretty good selection. I think that the Portland Trail Blazers here went with the best player available, and the reason why I think this was a good selection is because I think they feel that DeAndre Ayton isn't their long-term answer at the center position. I think Donovan Clingan will raise their defensive floor immediately. He's one of the best. He'll come into the league already being one of the best shot blockers. Is the best shot blocker in this class. He's listed at 7'3". He has good weight on him. He's a winning player. Obviously, they won back-to-back championships with him. And yeah, I think he'll help this team immediately. And I think he'll be a great cornerstone for this team with him, Scoot, Shaden, and maybe Anthony Simons. We'll see what happens with him. But I'd give this selection here I'd give it an A minus. I think it's a pretty good core that they have going on here. With the 8th overall pick, we have the Minnesota Timberwolves selecting Rob Dillingham here. I'm not gonna lie, man. This one kind of broke my heart. I was really high on Rob Dillingham and with his fit with the Spurs. So when I initially saw the Spurs pick Rob Dillingham, let me tell you, I was really living on cloud nine. I was one of the happiest guys in the world, and um, I felt like it was just, here you go, psych, and they just took it right away from me, man. And I was pretty pissed at first, but I can see why they made the trade. Obviously Rob Dillingham is one of the shortest players in the draft. He weighs less than me. I'm 5'11". This dude weighs like 160 or 165, something like that. So he's very, very light. And typically a small player like that who's not good on defense, who's super thin, a lot of the opposing teams and players will seek him out, and which just will cause a lot of problems. But I felt that Victor Wembanyama can hide a lot of that, and honestly, with the Timberwolves selecting him at 8, I think that's one of the best teams to pair with Rob Dillingham. Obviously the Timberwolves were, I think they were the best defensive team, if not one of the best defensive teams. Obviously they have Anthony Edwards, they have Jaden McDaniels, they have Rudy Gobert, the defensive player of the year. So if you're Rob, you're happy that you went to a team like that, if it wasn't the Spurs. But yeah, man, I was pretty heartbroken. And obviously being that I'm a Spurs fan, I hope this does not work out for them. I hope he's a bust, but I'm not gonna lie, like I do think he'll be a big contributor for this team. I think he's the best scorer in this class. Definitely a 3-level scorer. But yeah, he does have risk with him being so small and pretty light weight wise. And in return, Spurs got unprotected, I think 2031 pick, and then we got a pick swap. I don't think the Spurs are done yet making moves. I think this is just a plan to make a trade in the near future. Again, future video will come out for that if you're interested in seeing it. So please subscribe, like, and look out for that future video. But for the Minnesota Timberwolves, I'm gonna give this a B plus, only because, again, no, I'll give it an A minus. I think he'll be an underling for Mike Conley, and he'll eventually become that starting point guard that the Wolves desperately need. I think he'll provide a great scoring punch for them, being that this team struggled offensively at times, especially when Karl-Anthony Towns was out, and it was just like Anthony Edwards out there and him out constantly getting double teamed. So I think he'll definitely provide a good spark, and I think it's a perfect fit for Rob Dillingham to not get played off the floor. So I give it an A minus. With the 9th overall pick, we have Zach Edey being selected to the Memphis Grizzlies here. And this was actually one of the picks that I predicted. I think this is a great fit for him and for the Grizzlies. Just look at their previous roster. They had Steven Adams, and obviously when they had Steven Adams, they went pretty far in the playoffs. They did pretty good, and I think they had a legitimate shot at making the NBA Finals. And yeah, picking up Zach Edey, I think he's just a way better version of Steven Adams. Obviously, he's way better offensively. He's taller. He's 7'3" or 7'4", 7'5". I don't know, something like that. He's the tallest guy in this draft. Again, great offensively. I believe he averaged like 20 plus points in college and averaged like 12 rebounds. So he's a double machine. And if you're the Memphis Grizzlies and you give Zach Edey the type of role that you want him to play, I think he could really excel in that role. He's one of the best screen setters. I think he'll definitely help them in size when they have to go up against like Dallas Mavericks, the Nuggets, the Timberwolves. So I think he just definitely gives them size, and it'll help Jaren Jackson play his natural position at the power forward position. And yeah, I think this is a great fit overall. I know a lot of people don't really like it. I know a lot of people felt that he was a reach, but hey, like the Memphis Grizzlies got the player that they wanted, and with the draft like this, I think that's something you got to do with this draft class not being the highest potential. I think you just go out and get the guy that you want, and in my eyes, I think they did that. So I think this is a great selection. I give this an A, a solid A. With the 10th overall pick for the Utah Jazz, we have them selecting Cody Williams here. Now this was not one that I predicted, but I definitely see the reason why. Cody Williams, one of the best 3-and-D prospects in this draft, maybe like second, behind Zachary Reese-Shea. He obviously showed that he can shoot the three ball at a pretty good clip. I believe he shot like 40%. It was low attempts, but at least he did show that he can definitely take them. And I predicted the Utah Jazz taking a player like Nikola Topic, but obviously with the injury and being that they already have a player like Keontae George, I can see why they didn't, right? Maybe that just, to me, that tells me that they really believe in Keontae George being their point guard of the future. And, picking a player like Cody Williams, again, him being one of the best 3-and-D prospects in this draft, I think it'll just complement them that much more. A lot of people compared him to Jaden McDaniels. So if he could be anything like that, I think this is a great fit. And if the Jazz want to keep Lauri Markkanen, I think it doesn't really affect them in that way either. I think the Utah Jazz were one of the biggest winners in this draft, being that they selected him. I believe they got Kyle Filipowski and they got Isaiah Collier. So I think they're one of the biggest winners here. And yeah, if I had to give this a grade, I'd give it a solid A as well. I think he'll be able to space the floor, and I think he'll be probably their starting shooting guard or small forward, one of the two. But yeah, I think this is a good pickup for them. With the 11th overall pick, we have the Chicago Bulls selecting Matas Buzelis. I thought this was a great pick for them. I thought Matas Buzelis could have went a lot earlier than what he did. And if you're Chicago, you're really, really happy. You got your hometown kid here. If you're Matas Buzelis, if I was Matas Buzelis, I would have loved to play for my hometown team. And I can't imagine how he's feeling right now. I mean, I think he was hoping to fall. I mean, not hoping, right? But after a certain time when you saw him fall so far, I'm pretty sure at that point he was just hoping to get there at that point, right? So, yeah, I mean, Matas Buzelis, major upside with him, again, being highly recruited coming out of high school, one of the best prospects coming out of high school. And I agree with him. There was a video where he said that if he shot the three ball a little bit better, he would have been the #1 overall pick. And I agree with that statement. If his three ball, fell down a little bit more at a higher percentage, I think he would have been the #1 overall pick. He's very versatile. He can do almost everything on the floor. He's great defensively. And, if you're the Chicago Bulls, you just, you need highest upside. You need just overall talent on this team. And I think right away he can be your starting small forward or power forward, just depending on if they keep Patrick Williams and being with, Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan up in the air. Who knows what happened, but I think he'll come in immediately starting on this team. And yeah, I give this selection here an A+. I think this is a great pickup for them, and hopefully he becomes what he was set out to be coming out of high school for this team. With the 12th overall pick, we have the Oklahoma City Thunder selecting Nikola Topic. I thought this was a pretty decent selection. I mean, kind of a head scratcher, right? Being that they traded away Josh Giddey, and this is basically Josh Giddey 2.0, right? Just without all the allegations that happened with Josh Giddey. Seriously though, they play at a very similar play style. Neither of them can shoot. They're both great playmakers. And being that Nikola Topic had the partial ACL tear, I think it makes sense for them selecting him here because they don't really need him to contribute right away, right? Although I believe there was a press conference of them saying that, they are going to have him run the second unit, or, he's going to get some playing time once he's, coming back from injury. But, when you have a team like the Oklahoma City Thunder, I think, you can afford to wait on a player like this to develop and wait on him to get healthy. But yeah, I mean, at the very least, he can run their second unit. And, if he's really that good and he develops a three-point shot, I can definitely see him going into that starting role. But for now, I think this is a great start for him. I think it'll be a great place for him to develop and, for a team to take their time with a player like this. So I give this selection an A-. And, you know, hopefully it works out for Nikola Topic. Hopefully he doesn't fall, because they have a lot of young talent on this team, and, you know, they only have like infinity draft picks coming up. So he's really going to have to compete with a lot of people on that team. And, but yeah, I mean, I think this was a decent spot for Nikola Topic to fall. It was one that I didn't expect, right? I thought they would have went with a center, but yeah, I mean, it looks like they just went with, you know, a player with one of the highest upsides on left on the board. So can't knock them for that, right? They can definitely afford it with all the draft picks that they got, and they can address anything else that they need in trades and free agency. But yeah, I give this an A-. With the 13th overall pick, we have the Sacramento Kings selecting Devin Carter. Another trade that another selection that I actually predicted, and I think this is a great pickup for the Sacramento Kings. I think he's a win ready now type player. He's great on defense. I think he'll be a major contributor right away, especially with the Kings, you know, having playoff hopes. And with the subtraction of Davion Mitchell, I think he'll slide right in at the backup point guard position. And, you know, if he's really, really good, he could definitely maybe even start as the starting shooting guard if you feel comfortable enough playing him and Fox together, with, you know, being with them both being like 6'3", you know, pretty small. But yeah, again, I think this is a great selection. He's great, you know. Offensively, I think he averaged like 19 points in college. Although, you know, having players like De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis, you won't really need him to score. He was also great defensively, right? Being one of the best defenders, if not the best defender in college. He has great wingspan. A lot of people compared him to like Derek White, Drew Holiday, Marcus Smart. You know, that type of player, that type of mode. And yeah, again, I think he'll just contribute to this team right away and will be great for them come the playoff time. And he'll have a already established role on this team, being a backup point guard at the very least. So great pickup. I give this selection here an A+. Now with the final pick of the lottery, we have the Washington Wizards here selecting Bub Carrington. They traded, you know, with the Portland Trailblazers in exchange for Deni Avdija and, you know, some others, right? But yeah, I mean, if you're the Washington Wizards, I think you just got the player that, you know, you were really high on. And again, with this type of draft, you just gotta, you know, go for the player that you're really high on, right? You can definitely pick and choose who you want, being that, you know, a lot of players in this draft weren't really a for sure thing anyways. So I think Bub Carrington can definitely come in and compete for that starting point guard with him and Jordan Poole, if they're even, or maybe Tyus Jones or whoever it is that they have on that team, right? I think you could he can definitely come in and definitely fight for that starting position. He's one of the best shot creators. I know he wasn't the best, you know, driving into the lane, but you know, a player who can definitely shoot the ball, who can create, I think will be a good pairing with Alex Sarr. And yeah, I mean, he's one of the youngest players you know, in the draft. I thought it was a little bit of a reach, but again, with this draft class, I guess just go out and get the players who you want, right? But yeah, overall, if I had to give this a grade, I'd give it a solid B+, just because he's still very, very raw, and hopefully the Washington Wizards can develop him the right way. Hopefully they can develop his playmaking skills a little bit better. But yeah, I guess, you know, more to come. I guess time will tell, but, you know, overall, at the very least, he'll be able to provide shot creation, and he'll be able to space the floor for Alex Sarr. So, and again, kudos to them for having the guts to reach on a player like this. I mean, as it is, you can't really be losers, right? You ended up picking probably the best player in this draft with Alex Sarr, so you can afford to reach for you know, this type of player. So yeah, again, I'd give it a B+. So that's going to do it for today's video, guys. Again, if you enjoyed, please give it a like. I'm going to be making, you know, future content in regards to trade rumors and, you know, reactions, predictions, things like that. Subscribe if you are new, give this video a like, and yeah, thank you.